Yeah, I'm here with Tonya Allen, who is the president and CEO of the Skillman Foundation, Armen Hratchian, a vice president at Excellent Schools Detroit, and Veronica Conforme, who's chancellor of the Education Achievement Authority of Michigan. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, Tonya, I want to start with you. It seems like in Detroit, in particular, we are not where we were, but we are not where we want to be right now. There's a lot of, I think, question and disappointment still surrounding the circumstances of this new district going forward, but I'm curious what makes you optimistic that it might actually work?
Well, I'm optimistic for a couple of reasons. First, I think that we have a set of really strong educators that are in our city. And if they're enabled and they're taking the bureaucracy and the burdens are unleashed from them, then I think that they can do a really good job. The second is, I think that this fight that we had with Lansing to make sure that we could reset the education system in Detroit to make it effective really has, I think, woken up our public. And so I think there are lots of civic leaders as well as parents and just community members in general who are really interested in stepping up now and figuring out how you fix this, because everybody knows that what the legislature did was just pitiful.
Yeah.
It was pitiful in the sense that they didn't solve the problem, yet they spent more than $500 million.
Right.
And so—
And now they're hanging that over our heads saying, we spent $500 million, don't blow it.
Right,
as if that was the only thing that we needed.
Right, so I'm very hopeful about that. So I actually think that Lansing believes that we probably left, that we didn't get everything we wanted. We were going to run with our tails between our legs, and they're wrong because they don't know Detroit and they don't know Detroiters. And so I'm ready for the next battle because we're going to win this because it's important for our children, and that's why I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because of the determination, the grit, the resilience of Detroiters, and we will not take this we won't take what they're trying to give to us, or more importantly, we're not going to take what they're trying to give to our children. We deserve better.
Right. Armen, ESD has done a lot of work just sort of quantifying the challenges that we have in Detroit, looking at the differences between schools that exist under different kinds of governance. Talk about what that data tells us about what we need to be focused on right now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we talk about education in Detroit, and post-legislation, everybody remains focused on Detroit public schools, which is a huge need and the largest single institution. But the large majority of kids in Detroit today attend charter schools or leave for the suburbs every day. Part of this legislation was the Detroit Education Commission, and that got wrapped up in this school choice debate. And I think if you take a step back from this charter DPS fight that everybody wants to go to, you realize that even today, parents are struggling to navigate all of these choices.
And there aren't enough quality ones.
And there aren't enough quality ones. There are 4 schools in the city of Detroit that are above the 50th percentile statewide. The state reform office, which now has authority over accountability for the city, legislators said we want you to take responsibility, but then they held accountability at the state level, so here we go again. They released this list. There are 71 schools in Detroit that are on the bottom 5%, but we don't talk about there's an additional 80 schools that are between 5th percentile and 20th percentile. So 3/4 of the schools in the city of Detroit are performing in the bottom quarter, and that's why every time we went to Lansing or had these conversations, we said, this has to be a comprehensive solution. This has to be a comprehensive solution that puts families and students first. And, unfortunately—
Forget about what we call the schools.
Yeah.
They're all in need of the same kind of—
That's right. And promoting quality over and over and over. So I agree with Tonya. We're still focused on that issue, and we'll remain focused on that issue.
Veronica, you had a district of really struggling schools. The 15 lowest performing schools over a long period of time were sort of put together in the EAA. Lots of fits and starts in the sort of early years of that system. Talk about where it can go now, and also talk a little bit about where it's gotten to. I mean, one of the things that gets lost is these were very, very low performing schools, but we're starting to see the germs of progress.
Right. And I think, we have to acknowledge that this was not started in any ideal circumstances. It was in very much imposed in some ways.
Yeah.
It was probably didn't have enough time to develop the concept well, and was fraught with lots of challenges that we have seen play out in the media.
Yeah.
However, over the past 2 years, a lot of focus and attention around what is most important, which is teaching and learning and creating good schools. So we have teams of educators that we've recruited and invested and developed and coached to do the very hard work of turning around the lowest performing schools. And we're starting to see some results. 7 out of 9 schools and showed improvement this year in ELA, and 8 out of 9 in math. Are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. It's a step in the right direction. We've created small learning environments. We know the things that work. We know intimate relationships with students and families is what works.
Yeah.
We know that focused curriculum and attention and consistency over time, not a new plan every year,
Right.
consistency and opportunity to build year over year on that work is what is required in these schools, and we've seen it happen across the country. We can do it here.
Yeah. And we don't want to stop talking about this without mentioning funding, right?
Right.
Money. We need money to do the things that we all know need to be done in schools that have populations like these, really distressed
That's right.
populations that need more, not less.
I think we need money. I think we need better coordination. I think about the fact that many of our students have different homes off 2 and 3 times in our year. About 30% of our population moves consistently. That means that we need different coordination. We need to do things substantially differently so that we can actually meet their needs.
Yeah. Tonya, before we wrap, I want to ask you about the very important decisions we'll be making here in Detroit in November. Who is going to sit on the school board? This will be the first time in, 7 years that we'll have a school board that's not really, that is in control of a lot of the district. What kind of things are you seeing in those races among the candidates, again, that make you hopeful? I have seen a lot of people in those ranks who I think, wow, that's great that person is interested in this, is putting in the time and effort, and wants to help us get going in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful about the school board elections, largely because of the same thing you said. We have really talented people who have decided to run for school board. Many of them are proven administrators, many of them proven educators. So one of the things that I'm most pleased about is the number of educators who have put their hats in the ring, and they want to bring their skill set. But I think one of the things that's really interesting is that you see that these school board candidates are combining their talents together on a couple of slates, trying to figure out like how we really get a strong block of people who are going to be focused on the right things. And we hosted, the Skillman Foundation hosted a session for the school board candidates to learn about the district, and nearly half of them showed up for every single session. So that just really speaks to the quality of these candidates and their desire to make a difference.
Yeah. And that gets back to what you were talking about initially, this resilience of Detroiters saying, all right, we didn't win the way we wanted to, but that doesn't mean we're going to go away. We're going to keep pushing, keep fighting to make the schools better.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, thanks very much for being here.
Thank you,
Thanks, Steve.
Steve.
Thank you.